UFC 142, Jose Aldo versus Chad Mendez. This fight is going to take place in Rio, Brazil. Should be a good fight. Like I have said before, the little guys go out there and hustle. They actually go out there and put on a show. There's not going to be any laying back and laying on top of each other, humping each other all night. There's going to be actually be some good action on this card, especially if you have the likes of Aldo and Belfort and Johnson and Paul Harris. So you know someone is going to get knocked out. Um, let's start with Jose Aldo. In my opinion, Jose Aldo is in that middle place right now. He's in that middle place between um, a great fighter and just that guy. He's the man right now. He's that guy right now. He's the guy that is tough for everyone to beat. He's the guy that's still on top of the pedestal, but I don't necessarily believe he's great yet. I think he still has some way to go. He still have to fight in a few more fights to call him great, especially since that performance he put on against Mark Hominick. Even though he did beat up Mark Hominick and made Mark Hominick look like the Elephant Man, I still saw some issues with him that was very questionable about his greatness. His cardio problem. Now he said I think he said he was a bit overweight for that fight. So we'll see if that would affect him in the future. But for a wrestler, that's great. For a wrestler fighting against a fighter that have a bad cardio, that's great because a wrestler, that's what he can do. He can wear out his opponent and really make the guy work for it. To work to get back to the feet and work, in his striking. Even though I think Jose Aldo ground game is pretty good and his wrestling is pretty good, Chad Mendez should take advantage of that. Now, he should take advantage of that, but what will most likely happen? I think they will come out and Jose Aldo is probably going to knock out this kid. I just don't see this Chaz Mendez really doing anything with Jose Aldo. It's probably going to be another win for him, if not a knockout. If it goes, I say the further the fights go, if it go into the third or fifth round, then Chad Mendez has better opportunity to win. I'm not saying that he will even be winning those rounds, but he have a better opportunity to pull something off. I still think that Jose Aldo is just way too explosive. I mean, I know Jose Aldo is getting some comparisons to Anderson Silva, but I don't think he's really an Anderson Silva. I think both fighters, of course, are very skilled strikers, but I think he's more explosive than Anderson Silva, in my opinion. I think that on all fronts, that although wrestling is good enough to compete, defensive wrestling is good enough to hold off any major advantage that Chad Mendez going to have. So I have to go give it to Jose Aldo for the KO. No, I say second round, maybe first or second round. But I'm kind of leaning second round KO. The next fight is, I believe, Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Vitor Belfort. Um, Now, this is a good move, in my opinion, for Anthony Rumble Johnson to come down to middleweight, because I think the guy was if I'm correct, walks around at like what 230, and they said the guy was cutting down to 170 to fight guys at 170 at welterweight. That's crazy. That's cutting this. That's just cutting way too much weight. For a fighter to cut that much weight, they trying to that person can die cutting that much weight in such a short period of time. So I think it's a good move to go up to middleweight, but I still think it's a bad. In a way, it's a good move, but in a way, I don't think this is not a good move for him to come down to middleweight and fight Vitor Belfort. I think if he had came in and maybe fought somebody like Chris Lieben for his first middleweight fight would have been great, or even Wanderlei Silva for his first middleweight fight would have been great, but not to fight anyone like Vitor Belfort. I think Anthony Rumble Johnson, strength and size advantage, of course, is going to be gone. Vitor Belfort fought at 205, so he's used to dealing with big guys. Vitor is a big guy himself. I think Anthony Rumble Johnson may have a little bit of ability on the ground, but Anthony Rumble Johnson is not necessarily an explosive type of wrestler when he launches in and take guys down. If he tried to stand one moment with Vitor Belfort, the guy with the fastest hands in MMA, he's going to get KO'd. First round, I have to say this. I have to give it to Vitor Belfort on this one. First round KO. I just think that Vitor Belfort has the advantage on um, on all levels. I just don't think Anthony Rumble Johnson wrestling is explosive enough to get Vitor Belfort down and keep him down for 3 rounds. And I know Anthony Rumble Johnson striking is nowhere near Vitor Belfort level, and he will get KO'd in the first round. I think people still really underestimate Vitor Belfort, especially since he got embarrassed by Anderson Silva in the first round. But people need to understand he lost to Anderson Silva. I mean, Anderson Silva is a badass. Period. I don't care what any of the haters out there say. The guy can knock out anyone any way he want to. So, plus he got caught. I wouldn't say that Anderson Silva was a lucky kick or a lucky punch, because I don't believe in lucky kicks and lucky punch. I believe that a person set up for a punch and a throw, a kick or a punch, and they intend it to land and it lands. I think what happens is a lot of guys lose their focus, get off strategy, and they just stand there waiting for something to happen. And I think that's what Vitor Belfort was doing. I think he was moving around. I think he was kind of standing there in front of Anderson Silva waiting for something to happen. And for a guy like Anderson Silva, a guy that's an accurate and a great timing striker, that's very dangerous. So Vitor Belfort is still a very dangerous. Vitor Belfort could knock out anybody in the UFC. Anyone at 185, anyone at 205, anyone at heavyweight, in my opinion. So the guy's still dangerous. Vitor Belfort, first round. The next fight is Paul Harris versus. Let me see here. Paul Harris and Mesa Zone. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm not. I know I'm not. May not be pronouncing this guy's name right. Was Massinzo, something like that. And I have to apologize if I'm mispronouncing the name. But I really don't know much about the guy. I know that Paul Harris is a beast. I unfortunately I haven't had time to check out the other fighter. I've been so busy so busy this week. In fact, I haven't been really making a lot of MMA videos and boxing videos like I want to. But Paul Harris is just a muscle. That's the only way you can just describe the guy. The guy is just a muscle. I mean, he's short, he's stocky, and he just reminds you of a fist. That's that's the only way I can describe Paul Harris. And I just say that Paul Harris for the win. He's appears to be a guy that is coming up in the middleweight division. He's from that new wave and new young guys coming in the middleweight division right now, and we need guys like Paul Harris in the middleweight division. Even though I think the middleweight division is underrated and often attacked too much by the critics out there, mostly from Anderson Silva haters because people just don't like Anderson Silva. I think that division, even though it's a decent division, I still think it need to be built up some. There's a lot of guys you have out there. Hector Lombard. You have a lot. You have a few guys in Strikeforce. That's pretty good. I think UFC should go on and stop waiting around and go on and sign these guys and get them into the UFC and stop just focusing on this Anderson Silva and Son and fight all the time. So UFC 142, I got Jose Aldo, second round KO. Maybe first round, but I'm really thinking second round KO. Got Vitor Belfort, first round KO, and I got Paul Harris um, by I say let's see, I say submission. You know, the guy he can throw some hands, but he also is real good on the ground too. Well, that's my video. Thank you for listening and peace.